Okay, this is section 1.5 of Algebra. So we're starting out with problem 1, where we are adding numbers using a number line. So our first number that we're given is going to be our starting point, and then our second number we're going to add to it either in a positive direction, going to the right, or we're going to be going left, going negative. So let's create our own number line down here. I need to start at -8, put a few more dashes on here. Should be enough. Okay, so -8 plus 4. I start at -8, and then I need to move 4 positive, so I'm going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. -8 plus 4 is -4. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0 on a number line. And our absolute value is always non-negative, which means it's always positive. Whenever we take an absolute value, if it's a positive number, it stays positive. If it's a negative number, it changes it to a positive number. Couple key concepts about adding real numbers. When we add two numbers that have the same sign, so if we add two positive numbers, their answer is going to be positive. If we add two negative numbers, their answer is going to be negative. If we add numbers with different signs, whatever number is the biggest, if the positive number is bigger, then our answer is going to be positive. If the negative number is bigger, then our answer is going to be negative. So if we look at -12 plus 7, we're adding a negative number and a positive number. Since the negative number is bigger, it's 12, our answer should be negative. And we get -5. In B, we see that we have two negative numbers, so our answer is going to be negative. Oops. In C, we have a negative number and a positive number, but this time our positive number is bigger, so our answer is going to be positive. And then when it comes to fraction, those get a little bit trickier. And we need to find the least common denominator. It might be hard to tell right away when we have 3/4 and -5/6 which one is bigger. But if we get them both in terms of the same denominator, so if we get them both over 12, we can see that the negative number is bigger, and so our answer comes out negative. Okay, so for A, -16 plus -8. They're both negative, so my answer is going to be negative, and I get -24. B, I have -11 and +9. -11 is bigger, so my answer is going to be negative. I get -2. C, I have 9 plus -11. My -11 is the biggest, so I'm also going to get -2 here. B and C are the same problems, just in a different order. And if I were to draw a number line, they would look different, but I would end up in the same spot. Because in B, I'd start at -11 and go to the right 9. Whereas in C, I'd start at 9 and go to the left 11. And D, I have two negative numbers, -6 and -2. -6 plus -2 is going to be a negative number. It is -8. Okay, two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, but are on opposite directions, are called opposites. A number and its opposite are called additive inverses. So if I take the number 3 and I take its opposite, -3, they're going to add to 0. And that's what the inverse property of addition says. Some number plus its opposite equals 0. So if I take 5 and its opposite, -5, 5 plus -5 is 0. It works the same way if I take a negative number. If I say -2, the opposite of -2 is 2. -2 plus 2 equals 0. Okay, problem 3. Now we're subtracting. Before we were adding, now we are subtracting. Did I miss a slide? Oh, yeah, we missed a slide here. Let's go back to this one. Okay, you can use opposites to subtract real numbers. So 3 minus 5 is the same thing as 3 plus negative 5. So that's what our subtracting real numbers concept says. A minus B is equal to A plus negative B. So 2 minus 1 is the same thing as 2 plus negative 1. Okay, now we can do some subtracting. So I'm going to change my subtraction problems into an addition problem. So if I have negative 8 minus negative 13, I change it into a positive and I change the sign of my number. So it becomes negative 8 plus 13. In B, I have 3.5 minus 12.4. So I'm going to change that to a plus and I'm going to make that 12.4 negative. So let's try this down here. 4.8 minus negative 8.7. That's the same thing as 4.8 plus, and then I need to change this sign. So this turns into a positive 8.7. And this is equal to 13.5. Part B says, for what values of A and B does A minus B equal B minus A? This will only work when A is equal to B. Okay, a reef explorer dives 25 feet to photograph brain coral and then rises 16 feet to travel over a ridge before diving 47 feet to survey the base of the reef. Then the diver rises 29 feet to see an underwater cavern. What is the location of the cavern in relation to sea level? So we're going to call sea level 0, and we need to keep track of when a diver goes down and when it goes up. We're going to consider going down to be negative, to be subtracting. So we start at 0, and then he dives down 25 feet, so we subtract 25 feet, then rises up 16, so we add 16, and then dives down 47 feet, so we're subtracting 47, and then rises up 29 feet, so we add 29. So let's try our own here. So we're now talking about a robot submarine diver. So we're going to start at 0, and then it dives 803 feet to the ocean floor. So I'm going to subtract 803. And then it rises 215 feet. So I'm going to add 215 feet as the water gets shallower. Then the submarine dives 2,619 feet into a deep crevice. So I'm subtracting 2,619. And then it rises, so I'm going to add 734 feet to photograph a crack in the wall of the crevice. And we want to know what that location is. So I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. So this is going to be 0 plus negative 803 plus 215 plus negative 2,619 plus 734. Now we can either do this mentally going through, or I'm just going to add this on my calculator to make it go a little quicker. So negative 803 plus 215 plus negative 2,619 plus 734 gives me negative 2,473 feet. Alrighty, and then our lesson check. Number 1, use a number line to find each sum. So I need to start at negative 5. And I'm adding 2. So 1, 2. I get negative 3. Number 2, I need to start at negative 2. And I'm adding -1, so I'm going to the left one, which also gets me at -3. And then find each sum or difference. And I'm running out of room. We'll go up top here. Number 3, -12 plus 9. Since -12 is bigger, I'm going to expect to have a negative answer. So I get -3. Number 4, I have two negative numbers adding together, so my answer should be negative. -4 plus -3 is -7. Oops. And number 5, I'm going to change my subtraction to be adding. So I'm going to change this into -3 plus, and now I need to change the sign of my second number, so that becomes a +5. -3 plus +5. 5 is bigger, so I should expect it to be a positive number, and I get 2. And room for 6 maybe. 1.5 minus 8.5. I'm going to change that subtraction to be positive, to be adding. So that's 1.5 plus, now I need to change the sign of that second number, minus 8.5. So I've got 1.5 plus a -8.5 gives me 7, right? -7. And there we go. Here is your homework.